1-on-1 and number 2 of my away fans chat. And I'm delighted to welcome back the co-host of Talk Livingston FC podcast and all-round good guy, Euan Rankine. Well, Euan, how are you, pal?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Obviously, I was just saying to you before we started recording, I had a wee weekend away with the missus, so my missus is enjoying the fact the World Cup's part of the way through the season because she gets me when she doesn't normally get me on a Saturday. So, enjoyed that, and obviously enjoying a bit of the football of the World Cup as well. But what about yourself, mate? How you doing?
I'm okay, thanks. I'm okay. I don't have the break, but I'm all enjoying. We're not taking a break for the football to watch the football. It's great, isn't it?
Exactly.
So I spoke to you relatively recently in Celtic, travelled down the motorway, and we went to the Tony Macaroni, and you kind of had me on your own show to chat about my team. So before we get on to what I'm looking from you, let's catch up on Livy, right? So since that game, 2 wins, heartbreaking draw against Hearts. So the question I ask you is Davy Martindale going Rangers? No, he's not. No, seriously, sitting in 4th place, 2 points ahead of Hearts themselves, only 2 off Aberdeen. You've got to say it's been a cracking start this season, or first half of the season.
Yeah, it's been fantastic so far. I think I spoke to Davey right at the start of the campaign before the opening league game, and the big thing we spoke about then, and Davey's kind of mentioned that a lot is the continuity aspect from last year. I think you take Alan Forrest out of the equation, take Odin Bailey. Other than that, the team is pretty much the same as last season. And the goalkeeper's obviously changed as well. And I think we've upgraded on that aspect with the goalkeeper as well. So that's, I think, made a massive difference because last year we had quite a slow start. And I think that was because there were so many bodies came in one go and you're trying to gel a team together but also get results at the same time. And Davey was probably going down the route of a slightly different style of play, different system last year, whilst that's all very settled this season going into the campaign. And I think that's made a big difference. And obviously Davey's just picked up manager of the month for November as well, which I think is well deserved after 3 very good results. And you offered any Livy fan, I think, 7 points beforehand with the bitting your hand off for it. Performance at Kilmarnock.
And you're sitting here spewing and know that you only got 7.
I know. I listened to Davey's comments when he obviously got the award, and he was kind of talking about that. He was like, if you offered me 3 score draws, or 3 0-0s, I probably would have taken it. But you're sitting incredibly frustrated. I mean, so many things happened in that Hearts game, VAR related, which me and you have chatted about already at length, and it's no disappointed when we were talking about the controversies that will come from it. But
well done it.
At the end of the day, Hearts equaliser could have been taken off for VAR, but I think we should have dealt with it we shouldn't have had to rely on VAR for the equaliser anyway. We should have dealt with the situation ourselves. But at the end of the day, it was disappointing because we were 10 seconds away from getting our first win at Tynecastle in over 20 years. But
wow.
Jeez. Would I have taken a point away at Tynecastle before the game? Yes. I'm saying that after over a week, and I'm starting to get riled thinking about the game again. Because me and Angus were the same. We recorded on the Wednesday. The game was on the Saturday. And I'd watched the highlights and stuff to kind of refresh my memory. I was like, fuck's sake, Angus, I'm getting raging already. And I'm normally quite placid and level-headed, talking about my team, but I was just so frustrated leaving Tynecastle. And I think that tells you the level of the start to the season that we've had, that we're disappointed coming away from Tynecastle with just a point. Because I think even if you asked Hearts fans, I think they probably wouldn't have argued had we gone away with 3, but is what it is. 7 points, sitting 4th. So very, very good start to the season all in.
Good, mate. Good. Right. Okay. So you already know, but just to elaborate. So what I've been doing is asking each of our opposition lads who in their time have made the trip to Glasgow, and specifically Celtic Park, and I'm just kind of looking for your experience, right? So we'll touch on it. I'll not keep you long, so we'll just touch on it and as per when you always speak to me, I like you to tell the truth, and I like you to kind of don't hold back anything that's stuck in your head. And I know you wouldn't. So I'll start off with the first. Right, the first one's the biggest one, really. So let's talk about the cost of a ticket to Celtic Park. Is it something that straight away as a gripe with you? Do you think? I mean, I would presume you would say it's too much, but
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, so Livy charged £25 as the walk up, and we get criticised for that being too high. And I think we've only been to Ibrox this season, but I've already got my ticket for the game in December at Celtic Park. Obviously, the game
right.
got rearranged, but £32 is it's ridiculous, to be honest, to expect football fans to pay that. And again, to kind of put it in perspective, I'm renewing my Scotland Supporters Club membership, and it's working out at £25 a game. Renewing my membership, and that's international football. I'm watching, Spain, who obviously just absolutely battered Costa Rica in their opening game, which has given me hope for the qualifiers. But you've got them coming to Hampden with some absolute world class players, and yeah, it's overpriced. But I would say that across the board with Scottish football in general. I think Hearts are about 30 quid. Aberdeen are kind of closing in on 30 quid as well when you go up to Pittodrie, and I fucking despise Pittodrie. It's shite. That's utterly shite. But it's far too much, and I think it's something that needs to be done across the board. With the clubs in Scotland, they need to kind of. I've noticed that down in the Championship, they kind of have a cap on away prices, and I never knew that. No. I think, there's some clubs that kind of do deals with other clubs in terms of offering a discounted price for away fans, but I think they do have a cap where it's about, because it was, I did a Birmingham City podcast in the summer. Sounds a bit random. Yeah, it sounds a bit random, but Odin Bailey was on loan from us from Birmingham, so I was chatting to the boy and kind of have him on Twitter, and when I told him that I'd just paid £32 to go to Ibrox on Twitter, and he was complaining about paying, I think it was £30 to go to Loftus Road. Right. And he was like, "You're joking." He's like, he couldn't believe it when I told him it was £32 for a game up here. And I think that kind of puts it in perspective a little bit as well.
Do you think, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, we've spoken about it numerous times, and I think the 20s, plenty's my thing. I think that's definitely the way it should be. It was something we were talking about recently. See the whole alcohol at football thing, right? Obviously, being Scottish, we all know the downfalls of it, right? We do know, because we all know BAMs who can't hold their drink and they'll ruin it for everybody, right? We all know that. However, as somebody who doesn't believe minority rules, is the fact that we don't bring in income like every other, like the bowling brings in alcohol income, the golf brings alcohol, rugby certainly brings in alcohol income, and Scottish football doesn't, that the price kind of elevates because of that. I mean, that's just off the top of my head. I don't know if that would be a talking point, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, quite possibly. I think there's an aspect.
Or is it plain just greed?
It's probably a bit of both, to be honest with you, Scott. Like, if you look at it from I'll use Livy as an example. A few seasons back, we had a Scottish Cup tie against Glenafton, and obviously with a cup tie, the two clubs need to agree on a price, and it ended up being £20. Now, folk were going off their head, and they're going, "Oh, but if you reduce it to a tenner, loads of folk will turn up." But then there's the reality of it where you go, right, but you realise if you reduce that £20 to £10, you need double the amount of folk to come through the turnstile to make the same money. I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, realistically, it's not going to happen at like Livingston. Mm-hmm. So folk are going, "Oh, why don't we set our price at £15 for league games?" I was like, but you realise you need to get X amount of people in to make the same amount of money. And it's a balancing act, I find, as well with it. But I do find with Celtic and Rangers, especially for an away supporter, they're not relying on that income in the slightest. And
well, we spoke
the 50 Livy fans that turn up at Celtic Park and Ibrox, that doesn't bother them.
That's it. We spoke in our main podcast about how Celtic should be the leader for that exact reason that you've said. that £20 for every away fan, and we tell everybody, and hopefully, as in my opinion, the biggest club in the country, we are starting a trend, and then people would kind of, because like I said to Paul yesterday, £31 to go to Motherwell on a fucking Wednesday night. It's garbage, isn't it?
But tell you what, that's another thing we don't do at Livy, is you'll get across the board, I don't know how many clubs do it, you'll have a better idea being an Old Firm fan going to away games, but there'll be clubs that do the Category A, Category B, Category C
we don't
games.
do that either.
We don't do that, and we charge £25 as a flat rate across the board with all the clubs. So there's other clubs who are cashing in even more by setting a higher ticket price for an Old Firm coming to town and just cashing in on it. Whilst we could do that, but we don't, because for me, that
you're saying that. I think your ticket, that last one, it was £31.
Yeah, well, there you go, and we get slaughtered for having £25 to come to our place.
No, I'm saying
other clubs are.
I'm saying that I'm thinking your ticket was £30.
Was it? I don't know.
I'd need to double check that. But I'm
Celtic have set an admin fee on that. I'm telling you.
I'll tell you. I'll need to double check, but I'm sure. Right. Okay. So basically, you're saying what I feel this is going to be standard when I speak to all you boys, is that it's too much, and I agree with you. I think it's terrible. Right. Let's start off. What sizes of Livy away support in general if you took away Celtic and Rangers games?
Lucky if you get a couple of hundred. I think the last couple of games over at Kilmarnock, we had just under 200. Tynecastle, which is, shortest trip that we'll make over the course of a season, we had probably closer to double that at Tynecastle the other week. But in general, it's about, say, 150 to 200.
Right, so you're averaging a ton 50, 200. And then when you come to Celtic and Rangers, I presume it's lowered. Is it lowered because you don't win often there, even though you've had some decent results? Or is it that people kind of go, it's not worth the hassle because we might not win and it's fucking a fortune?
Combination of the two. Like, I'm one of those fans, Scott. I go to every game regardless, because
see your team.
To go and see my team, and you never know what can happen, right? Like we went and got a draw. Like we went and got a draw at Ibrox the other week, and it's the first time I think since 2015 we've got a result at Ibrox, and we'd only ever done that once before prior to that. So, it's good to say that you were there when you got those results, and we've had luckily enough we've done all right at Celtic Park since we've been promoted as well. But I think it is a combination of the two. Probably the cost. The likelihood is you're going to watch your team get beat, so folk are going, why bother spending all that when you know the likelihood of it? I mean, the last time I was at Celtic Park was the 0-0 where Strike saved the penalty late on, but it's quite a funny moment during that game, because there was a Celtic fan came to sit in the away end, and a steward had said you're in the wrong section and he wouldn't move. And we just turned round and shouted at him. We were going, right, you realise you've made the away crowd 55 if you're in there, right? and he bolted away with his green salt and vinegar crisps, right? Back into the home section of the crowd. But that gives you an idea. I reckon there was a good chance there probably was about 54 Livingston fans at that game. But it's a combination of the two. It's a bit... You really want to pay £32 when the likelihood is your team's not going to get a result, and then it's a bit of both, really.
So basically, there's always been, certainly I've heard it from Hibs and I've heard it from St Mirren, where people get disgusted with the song that are sang by. Would that put you off coming to? Because you clearly say that you go to support your team with the hope that but you don't ever get put off with singing and stuff like that, or do you know people who would?
There will be a few that will get put off by it. I'm quite used to it, to be honest. I find, and I know I'm not just saying this because I'm on a Celtic podcast, but I prefer going to Celtic Park than Ibrox. I find Ibrox more intimidating, and I've been more off put going there in the past. Like, for example, the first season we came up, we got a draw. And walking along kind of London Road back to find the car, and boys are jumping out the pub and congratulating us and getting the result. Now, when I was at Ibrox the following season, we got a penalty and went 1-0 up. We still lost the game 3-1, and I joked to my pal walking out of Ibrox going, well, we're the moral winners. We got a penalty at Ibrox from Willie Collum, right? And honestly, the way they looked at me, 3 boys turned round as if I'd just told them I'd shot their duck. Like, the way they looked at me, and I was like, you fucking won, lads. and you're kind of just like, but I've never had quite the same experience, even though we've actually got more results at Celtic Park. I feel fans have been a bit more jovial after the games, and it's not been quite the same. And I think we've had a bit of banter between the away section and the home section. Like, I think the last game there was the sponsored silence that he's done for the first half hour, and we're joking, we're shouting, "Go on, give us a song," for the first part of the game. And folk are having a good wee laugh and stuff like that. So I've always found that is the difference. Whilst I don't get that when I go to Ibrox, I feel a bit more uneasy. I've had coins chucked at me at Ibrox. I've had, things like that. Whilst I've never had that experience at Celtic Park. So, and I've been there, countless times over the years watching Livy.
It's a lovely segue, man. You're an expert at this, I tell you. Lovely segue into my next question, right? So you've kind of answered. I was saying, so coming to Glasgow, you would drive through generally. I mean, would you ever have came through in the supporters bus and stuff? Like, would you ever come through to Glasgow, get a couple of pints, and then go to the game? And then on the same thing, would you go to a boozer and local to the stadium, or would that just be a no-no?
That's probably a no-no. I wouldn't be bold enough to go in my Livy scarf, to be totally honest with you, with that. But we tend to just drive through, kind of quick escape back home afterwards. And typically the only time I'll drink at the football in Glasgow is when I'm going to watch Scotland, because you're a home supporter in that situation. So, but I mean, you're talking about a supporters bus, Scott. You're thinking we've got more fans than we don't have enough fans for a bus. The bus company makes a loss when we aren't that. But we tend to just jump into one car, make life easy for ourselves, and kind of quick escape, especially if we're getting a bit of a hiding as well.
Okay. Right. So coming into the game, what is your experience as a Livy fan? Is it your basic? See with the coppers and the locals, right? You've already spoken about the locals. That's great. But do you get any snash after the police that you get? Is it basic? You're run of the mill kind of away. You're a football fan. You're a scumbag kind of thing, or is it sound getting into the ground? Because like you say, you're kind of walking through the home fans, no problem, and then like the coppers are sound enough, then aye.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever had any issues with that. I mean, we're essentially being man-marked. I think they overdo the shielding for our away fans, to be honest. Well, it's what man-to-man marking when we go to Celtic Park and Ibrox. But I can't say I've ever kind of experienced issues with that. Certainly when I've been there. I think maybe that nil game, the first season back up, I think we had a few extra fans in, and the police were a bit arsey with a few of the fans kind of singing up the back end of the stand behind the pillar, but I wasn't kind of in amongst it, so I couldn't really tell you what was going on. But I think that's the only time I kind of remember anything of note with them being a bit arsier than normal. But I can't say it's something I've experienced personally.
Right, so your experience in the ground's going to be different again, and I hope I don't patronise you. You've kind of made a couple of wee jokes about it. Because there's less of you basically you can go where you want, right? So what is it like in the away section? Is it a decent view? Do you know what I mean? Can you boys get a decent sing song? Can you? Know what I mean? Is it all right for your dough, or is it fucking this is a shambles? I can't see down there, I can't see there. I mean, you must have been to Motherwell away where you get landed up the top tier and you can't see the goal. You know what I mean?
Again, we don't bring enough fans to get allocated the top tier.
I'm really not.
But no, at Celtic Park, you used to get the away section used to go right up to the back, but when we've been there recently, it gets kind of cut off almost halfway. There's only so far that we can kind of go back, and essentially, if you're wanting to avoid the pillar, you're kind of at worm's eye level, and for watching a game, it's no great.
Like, no good, right?
For example, I'll use that 0-0 game as I'm just trying to get in that we got a result.
As many things as possible.
But for example, the incident that happened, we had no idea what happened until we got in the car on the way home and heard it on the radio, because you couldn't see a thing really at the opposite end of the park. And it's not the best view. And it used to be better though, because I'm pretty sure the section got cut off right to the top. But when we've been recently, it's been kind of almost cut off halfway. So we're kind of getting proper wedged in right at the bottom of the stand in that corner. So given how much you're paying, it's no great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. So like this one sounds like.
So my dad's in the background having his chippy right for his dinner, and he's just blowing his nose. So apologies, this guy.
God bless him. Right. So this one here, I mean, like, so the atmosphere. Have you ever really felt the famous Celtic atmosphere, or is it always just because you know yourself? If you're playing a European game or you're playing Livingston, there's going to be a different level. Do you know what I mean? And I don't hope that's no patronising. But has there ever been a time where you kind of go, "Fuck me, aye, that's fucking loud, man"? Eh?
Well, we've been there on Flag Day. Our first game when we got promoted was unveiling the championship flag, and it is quite electric. And again, that last game I was at, when you've done that silence for the first half hour. And actually, by the way, Green Brigade, you actually went a few seconds early on the half hour. We were timing it.
I'll let them know.
But when that stopped was quite frightening, actually. It was almost quite intimidating to experience that. And I've been in the home. I've been at Celtic Park as a home fan when Scotland have played there as well. So I've experienced that as well when we played like Faroe Islands years and years ago, because Robbie Williams had nicked Hampden, and then there was the Ireland and England games more recently, back in 2014, I'd say. But like the atmosphere, I always say that Ireland game's one of my favourite ever Scotland games, and at that point there was a lot of chat about Hampden. I was like, move games here, because the atmosphere's on a different level to when we play at Hampden. So I would say the atmosphere is fantastic at Celtic Park pretty much every time I've been, even when it's a run-of-the-mill game against ourselves. And the thing I would always say, like, hate to compare the two of you, obviously, but Celtic seem to back the team more. Right. Like, for example, when you're drawing with us going later on, they're backing the team, whilst 20 minutes in, when you get Ibrox, you've turned the crowd against them. And I feel like you don't get that as much at Celtic Park. I feel they're more urging the team on to get the result rather than getting on the back because they've no already a goal up against little old Livingston.
Right, okay, last one for you. I kind of think I know that, but it's interesting you've actually said about what you thought of the view. So if you could change one thing about coming to Celtic Park, right, aside from results wise, right, but if you could change one thing, what would be the thing that you would change? Would it be location or just plain Jane Price?
Bit of both, I would say, Scott. I think you can, when you are a bit further back in that section, you can avoid the pillar depending on where you position yourself.
The pillar's horrible, isn't it? I mean, they sell it. We always laugh that away fans go up and take a photo behind the pillar, then move to the seat so they can moan about it. Do you know what I mean? But as somebody who has sat there through a daft incident of me selling my own ticket, I ended up in there with Inter Milan fans, and I remember looking to it going, that's fucking shocking, man. I mean,
there is a part where you can position yourself where the pillar doesn't cause that big a disruption, and you are further back in the stand, so the view's actually not that bad when you can kind of position yourself there. And because there's not that many of us, it's normally quite easy. But again, because they've shifted how far the away section's gone when we've been there recently, you can't do that really.
So it's probably a case of they don't want to stick you behind the post, and they don't want to have you moaning about it, so we'll put you down the front, and as you say, you've got no perspective of where the fucking ball is in the pitch.
Exactly. With the camera in the pitch, you don't even see that. You can see a player running, and you're assuming they've got the ball at the opposite side of the pitch. But no, it's a bit of both, Scott. I would say ideally, like my ideal position. So when I sit at Livingston, I sit behind the home dugout at Livingston, right at the back of the stand, and you're almost centre of the pitch. In an ideal world, I would sit there, but I also value my life, so wouldn't they want to sit there in the at the home end?
No, if you sit there at Celtic Park, you're sitting in the director's box. You're doing all right.
So, in an ideal world, that would be the case. I know that's not going to happen. I appreciate we're more than likely going to be stuck in a corner, or whatnot. But ideally, if they could even pull the section back to what it used to be, just a bit further back, even, I'd almost take the pillar rather than sitting down next to.
It's sad that you're saying that's an option.
Rather than taking kind of worm's eye level right down next to the pitch level. But it's, as I say, when you combine that with how much you're paying, like it is frustrating. Like, you've surely been to Tynecastle, and you're 30 quid to go to Tynecastle, but I don't think there's a bad point in the ground for a viewpoint of the game at Tyney, because it's so steep.
And there's even the wee seats. There's like individual seats right beside the end for like if you've got no pals, you can just sit.
They think everyone at Tynecastle.
Oh, brilliant!
Loners the lot. But to use that as kind of an example of an away section, like, I love going to Tynecastle because you don't get a bad view of the game at all, and that's probably the biggest gripe, is a combination. It's the two combined more than anything. If I was paying 20 quid and I had that worm's eye level, I probably wouldn't gripe about it, or if I was behind the pillar. But when you're paying £32, I think you're expecting a bit more.
Yeah, okay. Right, well, that's exactly what I was looking for, brother. As always, where can folk find you, and where can folk find the show so they could listen up? And I would say to any Celtic fans, as I always do, you do a preview and a post-match, and you talk about the games, and it's pretty good, and it's pretty balanced.
Yeah, so you can find us on Twitter at Top Livy. We're on Facebook and Instagram as well, on all the usual kind of podcast streaming sites, Spotify, iTunes, also on YouTube as well. So feel free to subscribe if that's your thing. But any listens would be much appreciated.
Outstanding, mate. Well, thank you very much. Good luck when the season comes back, and keep enjoying the World Cup.
Well do, mate. Same to yourself.